On today's show, you'll hear investor perspectives on the COVID-19 impact on the cannabis market. This is Investor Perspectives. I'm the host of Investor Connect, Hall T. Martin, where we connect startups and investors for funding. It's the time of COVID-19. Cannabis is currently gaining regulatory approval across the U.S. The lockdown has declared certain sectors, including cannabis, to be an essential service. We have investors and startup founders describe the impact of COVID-19 on the cannabis market. I hope you enjoy this episode. My next guest is Kim Rail of Azuka. Very good. Well, we see that cannabis is a great place for innovation. What new applications do you see coming up in this sector? You've touched on it a little bit before, but maybe you can dive into it a little bit more deeply.
So, our company is all about innovation. And innovation specifically in the edibles or ingestible category. So I'll focus on that. So traditional edibles, both hemp and CBD and THC edibles, have a very long latency time. So they take, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, sometimes longer to kick in and reach full effect. So, it's a sort of typical story where someone will consume an edible, a gummy or a brownie and they don't really feel an effect. And so 20 or 30 minutes later, they consume another one and maybe another one. And by the time the effects kick in, they've essentially overconsumed. And although it's not generally considered to be dangerous or no documented deaths or anything like that from consuming too much cannabis, it certainly is an unpleasant experience. So what that has created is a big pain point in the industry for consumers to be able to have edibles that kick in really quickly, are very easy to understand the dosing. Like if I take this gummy today and I have that same gummy a week from now, I'm going to know what the effect is going to be. I'm going to know how long it's going to take to kick in. I'm going to know, what the experience is going to be like, and I'm going to be able to understand how long it will take for the offset of the experience. So that's the problem that our company solves with an innovation that's called time infusion or time technology. And so I think that moving forward in the industry, if I look down the road a couple of years, I think traditional edibles are going to be dead. I don't think anybody will want to consume an edible that doesn't kick in for an hour and a half. There's just no reason for it because we have innovation solutions to that problem now that taste great, that work great, that are highly predictable. So our edibles kick in 5 to 15 minutes, and they taste great. They have a nice, predictable offset. So I think that the legacy traditional edibles are on their way out, and edibles that incorporate, culinary art and fast onset innovation are going to own the market.
Well, we've heard about a number of applications where they get into microdosing, nanodosing, and varying the different strains of CBD with different levels of THC, so that you're actually getting a unique combination that would apply to different people. And now it seems like here's a third one, which is a fast-acting accelerant that goes with it as well. Is the fast-acting having to do with the dosage rate, or is it a combination of varietals, or is it a third thing going on there?
So think of it this way. Most edibles are made with what's called distillate, which is an extraction of the cannabis plant. So it's a concentrated THC or CBD oil that's essentially the consistency of like tree sap. So it's super hard to work with. It's hard to measure. It's hard to get it, imagine trying to get, tree sap into a cookie at a specific dose and, homogeneous across the cookie, right? It's just like, it's hard. So what our infusion process does is we take cannabinoids and we have a culinary process that encapsulates each individual oil molecule at a single molecular level. And it does that in a water-friendly or hydrophilic coating. So that does two things. Our bodies are over 60% water, right? So our bodies like to metabolize things that are hydrophilic or water soluble. They're very easy for our body to metabolize. And the molecule is very small. It's 1.5 nanometers. And as we've reviewed other technologies out there in the market, the closest ones we've found are much larger molecules. So it's harder for the body to digest a large clump of molecules versus a little tiny molecule. And sometimes I tell the story of, like, think of it, it's not a perfect analogy, but if you drink a cup of coffee, right, your body can metabolize the caffeine in that coffee pretty quick. If you have sugar in there, it'll metabolize the sugar very quickly, right? Because it's, small molecules. If you eat a steak, your body will convert that steak into energy eventually, but it has to go through a whole long old process. So the analogy for the fast onset edibles is basically we make the cannabinoids, instead of acting like a steak that has to be, broken down way down the pike, and in the case of cannabis, get metabolized through the liver, we make it really much more like, metabolize the way you would metabolize the caffeine in a cup of coffee, very, very, very quickly and efficiently.
I see. Well, great. It seems like there's a lot of innovation going in making these better for you, as well as faster acting, and can be more adjusted for each person's needs. So it seems like you're getting better products coming out of it as well. Sounds like it's cycling very quickly now. New products are coming onto the market even after COVID. Is that the case, that you're seeing these come on the market today?
It's interesting. I've heard of a few new products hitting the market just in the last couple of weeks. We are certainly doing full speed ahead product launch and product innovation. But, if I have my ear to the ground in the industry, because we work with a number of brand partners, some of them are, full speed ahead, and some of them have just gone, into hunker down modes. I think it really depends to a large part, on a company's balance sheet, and do they have the flexibility to keep driving innovation through the downturn. And, if you look historically, I come out of the tech sector, right? I kind of grew up professionally at Intel and spent a long time as a tech VC investing in tech startup companies. And, truly great companies always invest in innovation in a down cycle, right? You see it over and over again. It was, Intel was famous for that. And as we look over, the last few great recessions, some of the biggest, household names now were founded during the Great Recession. So I'm super bullish on remaining innovative, even when the world has kind of gone crazy around us.
That's great. Well, tell us more about your technology and what you're doing in this space as well.
Sure. So our technology, our current innovation that's on the market, is branded as Time Infusion. And TIME is an acronym for thermodynamic individual molecular encapsulation. And that is actually what we do to the THC and CBD oil molecules, so that your body can metabolize them very efficiently and very effectively. And we have a business model with a family of brands, and we operate in both CBD and THC. So on the THC side, we license our fast-acting technology and the magic ingredients or the precursors that enable the cannabis to be fast-acting. So we license that technology to other brands that want to be their best brands. So think of the Intel Inside model, or Splenda Inside, Coca-Cola as a sweetener. So we did a recent launch in that model with the largest edibles brand in the country, which we are very excited to be working with them. That's Wana Brands. And they launched 3 gummy SKUs in Colorado called Wana Quick, powered by Time Infusion by Azuka. And that set of SKUs launched on February 28th. So right before the craziness of COVID hit our part of the world. And despite that, and despite the fact that there are hundreds of gummy SKUs in the Colorado market, one of the most mature markets in the country, one of those products is now, in April, was the number 19 product, which is just phenomenal to do a launch and have that much velocity. And it's because the products are great, they taste great, they kick in, 10 to 15 minutes, and people can really understand them. So that's one aspect of our technology and our business model. So we license fast-acting technology to brands. We also have a line of Azuka branded products in the THC market, and we have licensed that product suite to operators in a couple of states. So there are Azuka shortbread cookies, chocolate coins, a pâte de fruits, which is a gummy product, and flavored syrups on the market in a couple of places. And then on the CBD side, it's analogous. We sell CBD, fast-acting CBD ingredients to other producers who would like to have a CBD line extension. So say, for example, you are a regional kombucha brand and you would like to have, your favorite kombucha flavor with CBD inside. So we will work with that brand to put our CBD time infusion as an ingredient into your kombucha. And we can actually do that literally almost overnight because we have the formulations really nailed down for that. And then we also have a direct-to-consumer CBD line, which you can find on our website, which is azuka.co.com. And we have a line of simple syrups, which make great mocktails. My favorite is like a CBD mojito. People love that. We have a line of CBD chocolates and infused sugars that you can all get direct to consumer on our website. So those are the channels that we're leveraging this great fast-acting innovation currently.
My next guest is Scott Greiper of Viridian Capital. Great. So what new applications are we going to see going forward from the COVID experience? It was deemed an essential service and the growth rate has picked up for the use of it, but that also usually spurs new applications within the sectors. What do you think we'll see coming up in the next 6 months?
Well, I'll give you an example of one of the technologies that's making its way into the North American cannabis market called tissue culture. We just announced last week we had raised and closed a $15 million Series A financing for a tissue culture client. So this is something near and dear to us. So most cannabis is grown, I'll try to keep this non-scientific. Most cannabis is grown using mother plants. And when the mother plants mature, they're 8 feet tall, they're 10 feet tall at the end of a 4-month harvest. The growers clip the top of the plants. They plant those as seedlings, and they grow the next plant. The problem with that is you can't determine whether the mother plant has consistent, known, stable genetics from one growth cycle to another, because there's been so much genetic drift over many, many thousands of years of growing cannabis. Well, you can't have an infused drink, an infused chocolate bar, an infused tincture without knowing that there's stability in the genetics. That's where tissue culture comes in, so that it tastes the same every time, works the same every time, takes the same amount of time to work, and has consistency every time. The way that oranges, apples, bananas are grown all over the world is with tissue culture, which means that you're creating a seed that has known genetics, so that the orange or the banana you buy at a grocery in New York and a banana or orange you buy at a grocery in LA, it ripens in the same time. It's got the same thickness of the skin. It's got the same sweetness. It's got the same consistency. It's because it's grown with tissue cultures. It's grown with known, stable genetic properties. That is just starting to emerge in the cannabis space. And we believe it will become a standard means of growing because, as I say, most consumers now, are not purchasing cannabis to smoke the flower. They're purchasing cannabis-infused products where the oils have been extracted, whether from the hemp plant or the cannabis, and infused into a brand. Well, that brand, just like when you buy your Grey Goose, has to taste the same, has to have the same effect on you every time, has to have the same consistency. That's what's coming into the cannabis market with tissue culture. And that's one example of the type of agricultural technology applications that are coming into the industry as it matures.
And you use tissue culturing to adjust THC levels and other characteristics, say how long it may live on the shelf in a store stable environment, or is that beyond the boundaries of what tissue culturing can do?
Tissue culturing you can literally define based on the genetics that you grow into the seed, or really you manufacture the seed with. How long the harvest will take to ripen, what the THC and CBD ratios are, so potency, as you were describing, doesn't really impact shelf stability. That's a whole other issue with the way that cannabis oil is extracted and the lack of water solubility of cannabis oil. Because when you extract oil from the cannabis plant or the hemp plant, it's an oil. And when you infuse it into any kind of a beverage, whether it's alcohol or it's water or it's a sports drink or it's a beer, you're mixing oil and water. That's the issue with shelf stability. That's a whole other issue. We have another client that has actually created the first water-soluble cannabinoid in the cannabis plant. Complete game changer. But tissue culture is all about manufacturing seeds that are sold to growers, that you know the exact genetic profile of how it's going to grow, how long it's going to take to harvest, how long it's going to take to create cannabinoids in the tissues of the plant. And then when you extract it, the oils, and you infuse it into a brand, a drink, an edible, it's going to taste the same every time. It's going to take the same amount of time for it to have an impact on your body. That's the advantage of tissue cultures. It's creating sustainable brands, which every other CPG sector in the world lives off of. So every time you buy an orange, an apple, a vodka, a beer, which obviously are grown from potatoes, they all have the same impact, effect, taste, consistency. As a brand that you as a consumer fall in love with. Nobody walks into a liquor store to buy their vodka and said, hey, where is that manufacturer's potatoes grown? The consumer doesn't care. They know that they like the taste and impact of the brand. That's what tissue culture brings to cannabis.
And my next guest is Ryan Dean Hogan of Moda Ventures. You mentioned that some sectors of CBD were doing better than others. Anxiety was one you mentioned. What were some of the others that did well or not so well that you noticed that may have been driven by COVID as far as application or use case?
Yeah, immune products that we generated did very, very well. The standard products, the oils, the tinctures, everything performed really on par, if not greater. Pain relief, which is a major segment for us, muscle relief seemed to be the laggard. As we went through that, we did launch a few products that did not perform like we wanted, like a CBD hand sanitizer. That was a product that I think we were late to market and didn't have the right value proposition for our consumers. But, we move very, very quickly. We're able to take the feedback from consumers, and we learn about these metrics really before consumers get the product in their hands, just based on looking at their behavior on our websites and looking at what they're searching for as well.
So from the COVID experience, what new applications do you think you're going to see coming up? Were there any lessons learned that you think the industry is going to go in a new direction or create new products based on the demand that came out of COVID?
Our future product development schedule is still on track. I think CBN, CBG products, are still going to be popular. I think what COVID has done in this pandemic is I think it's introduced CBD and likely, to speak to cannabis, these products to new consumers that weren't currently in the market. These consumers were at home. They had funding to purchase natural health products. They wanted these solutions for their family, and they were spending more time on their phones. Mobile checkout is the biggest, checkout for us. So I think what we'll see is we'll probably see more longevity and our consumers coming back. We're seeing this already, Hall. We're seeing our consumers coming back and renewing subscriptions, and that length time span, I think, is going to extend. It's still a little too early to tell. We're still looking at data from consumers that we acquired in March and early April. We need to really see them out, 6 to 12 months. But that's one of my predictions for the market is I think people will stick with this product because it was very helpful for them during this pandemic that we all faced as humans.
So what tells you that CBN and CBG are going to be popular? What's the indicator you're looking at for that?
We look at feedback. When we acquire so many customers every quarter, and we get a lot of emails, we get text messages, our customer service department. So we keep a running log of what people are asking for when they call in to either have a question about the product or they call in to place an order, the people that do order via the phone. So we're looking at derivative products with those constituents. And likely, the same oils, anything that's consumable. I think that will be we'll be looking down.
My next guest is Ford Smith of Ultra Native. What new applications did you see come up during this time frame?
We've seen the beverage market kind of get quite frothy and interesting. And I think what the COVID may have some helping hand in allowing these consumers that are consuming cannabis at home now, kind of like locked up, to try new form factors. And one of the form factors that's just, really been high on my interest level has been that beverage category. And so, I don't know if you can say that there's no real innovation there. You did start to see a few brands come out with lower dose beverages. So it was a lot of the consumers that were at home, sitting around maybe trying cannabis for the first time getting it delivered. They were looking for that low dose option. And so as opposed to, these high 100 milligram beverages that you take one sip of and put in the fridge and then try again next week, you're starting to actually see a properly dosed 2.5 milligram beverage that you can have 1 or 2 or 3 in a sitting. And I think that maybe as a result of COVID, you started having these new consumers just try these new form factors. But yeah, that's something that, regardless of COVID, that's something that I've seen in the space that we've taken a heavy look at, and we've been kind of incubating ourselves.
Thank you for joining us today. As always, be sure to leave a review, subscribe to this podcast, and share it with others. Let's go start up something today. Alti Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall in podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for the basis of investment decisions.